individuals, when they come into the business, they know what they want to do, but they don't know how it is that they're going to get there. Any advisor that's working in the field right now, they need to figure out a different way to build their business and do business.
I like the analogy of, you think of seed that's planted in the soil and it doesn't know how close it is to reaching the surface.
That's right. I want women to know that there is a way that we can build our businesses, not have to choose between career and family, and be just as successful as everyone else.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, anybody that has an experience in that kind of a sales, whether it's pounding the phones or door knocking, those are transformative sales experiences. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the A-Lister Show, where we bring on movers and shakers, people doing interesting things, telling their stories, entrepreneurs, and today we have another amazing guest. We have Leanne Teston, who is a financial advisor and a coach that works with women that want to grow their businesses after she's grown a very successful business herself. Super honored today to have her in the room as a guest. Leanne, how are you today?
I'm great. Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So thank you for making the trip down to San Diego. I want to get right into it, and I want to ask you what it is that you do. Who are you? And why are you here?
Okay. So I'll give you a little bit of my backstory.
Yeah, please.
I started in the investment and insurance industry back in 95. So
Wow.
almost 29 years ago. It was August the 8th, 95. I still remember it. Back then, we barely had email. It was like the old AOL dial-up kind of thing. So the only way that was available to build your business was buying lead lists and making cold calls, and even just flipping through the phone book and starting to dial. So that's how I started building my business. And it was a number of years into my career, and I did really well, that I found myself in a position that I was a single mom. And it's tough to try to build a business alone, but to try to do that and raise a child on your own at the same time, it's very long days, a lot of stress, and, not a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I was really fortunate that my parents helped me out with my daughter quite a bit. They would get her from school, make sure she had dinner, made sure she got to bed at night. And there was one night where I came home, she had already gone to bed, and I saw a note, on my bedroom door, and it said, "Mom, I miss you." And for anyone that has kids, they know how gut-wrenching that is. It's just like a stake through the heart, right? And so I said to myself, okay, this isn't going to work. Something's got to change. So that was really my pivotal moment. From that point on, I started diving down every single rabbit hole you could possibly imagine. Started Googling. I joined a bunch of mentorships, like for Facebook ads, learning social media. And what I found was that I was able to attract clients and maintain a six-figure income without having to buy those leads or make those cold calls anymore. And it just made a world of difference. I had a lot less stress. I had a lot more time with my daughter, and just overall good balance. Wow. So eventually I said, you know what? I've been able to do this. I need to show other women how to do that too. And, I've seen so many women come into this industry and then have to turn around and leave again because they don't get the support and the guidance that they need. So I want to be that person, and that's how my business was born.
I love that. So take me back to when you were dialing leads. So you would get a list of leads, right? You pay for a list of names and phone numbers, and then you just call them. And what would you say to them?
Oh, it would really depend. I had so many different scripts that I would use, trying to figure out, okay, what's going to get them to not yell at me or not hang up the phone on me. And so generally, I would say, hey, this is Leanne. I'm calling from, I worked for another number of different firms. Just wanted to know what your thoughts are on XYZ. So I would talk about something that's happening in the economy or with politics. And a lot of times if they were open to chatting about it, then that would really get the conversation going. Right. And then try to move them into an in-person meeting. Right.
And I'm curious, how does that kind of translate to what you do, these days, where you are now, to the more modern method where you're trying to, somebody is trying to, sell their financial products and services in today's market. So has things changed? How has things changed since then?
Cold calls just don't work the way they used to. More people are on social media. People don't have home phones like they used to, and it's tough to get cell phone numbers. Yeah. And so any advisor that's working in the field right now, they need to figure out a different way to build their business and do business. Right. And that goes against the grain a little bit, because there's a lot of insurance companies out there, particularly here in the US, where the uplines are still saying, you got to make your dials, but people just aren't responding in the same way. So, and the leads that you do get, they're cold. They've already been called 25 times. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of time for only a little bit of reward.
Yeah. And what would you be, what are you trying to sell them? So I'm kind of new to the financial planning industry. So basically it's like helping somebody plan for retirement, or just manage their wealth. Is that kind of what you're doing?
No. So that's what I did do when I was working in the field. Mm. I did investments, insurance, tax planning, overall cash flow, retirement planning, that sort of thing. So I've got a really strong background in that. I am a certified financial planner, had my insurance license, investment license, and whatnot. Now what I do is I show women exactly how they can build their business without having to buy the leads and make the cold calls.
Gotcha. Okay. And tell me a little bit about what you do nowadays. So there's a financial planner or somebody that wants to get in the financial industry. How is it that you can help them? What do you do for them?
Well, first, whether it's myself or someone else, they need a mentor. They need someone that knows the industry, knows the certain challenges, how to get around them, things to watch out for, pitfalls, all that kind of thing. And they need to have a specific plan in place as to where it is that they want to take their business and how they're going to get there. One thing I hear a lot is that individuals, when they come into the business, they know what they want to do, but they don't know how it is that they're going to get there. Yeah. Particularly in insurance, where you would have an upline that is to mentor you and show you the way. They're many, many times just not available. They bring you on board as their team member and to build their downline, but they don't give the advice or the support. I hear that multiple times a day.
Yeah. Well, why would they? Because if they gave you everything, then you would just leave and then go off and, be their own competitor. So they have to kind of keep you down to a certain degree. Is that right?
Potentially. However, I feel it would really be in their best interest to mentor and really give that support and guidance to the individual that they've brought on board. Mm-hmm. The more individuals they have in their downline, the more money they are going to make. So it also increases their income, and in giving the support and guidance, they are creating more loyalty as well. Mm-hmm. And so when that individual starts to build their own downline, it multiplies.
Yeah. What made you get into the financial industry in the first place?
I remember exactly the day that I decided I was going to go that
Tell me about
route. It. So I was in a grade 11 accounting class. I can tell you I was sitting second seat down in the farthest row, close to the door. And the teacher was talking about, debits and credits and trial balances, all that good stuff. And I thought, you know what? I really like this.
What kind of a person?
I know. People still laugh at me to this day. Like when I was in post-secondary, I used to get all excited because my trial balance didn't balance. And so I had to dig in and figure out where I went wrong.
Did you go home and try to do this stuff on your own books as well?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
I really struggled with that stuff in college. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. Owner's equity. What even is that? I remember the couple of equations, but so I know enough to know, to know, to look at a balance sheet, and that's pretty much it. But it's so important to have these skills as a
Absolutely.
business person. Really.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you are in business for yourself, regardless of what kind of business you have, you need to be looking at your financials, ideally weekly, but at a minimum monthly.
Yeah.
You need to know where your income is coming from and where your expenses are and how much is going out versus what you've got coming in. That, I would say, is a really big reason why a lot of businesses don't survive.
Mm-hmm. They don't know the numbers. They don't have the data.
Yeah. How are you going to make decisions if you don't have the data?
No, it's impossible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just do whatever you feel like is happening at that time.
Right. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah. So you're in this class and they're talking about accounting, and you just said that this is kind of that you liked it, and then at that point you're like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to learn this stuff, and wow, okay. Very nice.
Yeah. I can even remember what I was wearing. I had on a pair of black jeans and a gray hoodie.
Wow.
And I was just mesmerized, learning about how all the numbers work together. It was, I think about it now and I laugh. But
so what was your first job when you got out of school?
My first job when I got out of school, I started on the phones in the direct marketing department with one of the trust companies in Canada. And my job, 8 hours a day at that time, was taking inbound client calls or making cold outbound calls to gain clients.
Wow.
And so right from day one, I was on the phones.
Wow. I kind of know what that's like. So have you seen the movie Boiler Room?
Years ago.
Okay. Like Wolf of Wall Street, that whole thing, right?
Yes.
So when I was like 19 or 20, I was kind of like not sure what I was going to do. So I bought a one-way ticket to New York City.
Wow.
And I paid 2 months at a hostel. And I'd never been to New York. I didn't know anybody there. And I'd seen these movies like Boiler Room and stuff. And I was like, oh, I want to be a Wall Street stockbroker. And so I went out there and then like with the goal of like being a stockbroker. So I went out and I started studying for my Series 7 exam, and I got sponsored, and I got my 63 license, and then I went for a broker on Wall Street. It was incredible. The experience. Had to wear a suit every day. I bought one suit before I went there for $300, and it was terrible. It was horrible. I sat there. They made us pound the phones we have to be in the office at 7 a.m. This is New York. We have to leave, at 6 a.m. probably to get there.
Right.
And until 7 p.m. And I remember they would track how many phone calls we made in a day. And some days I would make 1,000 dials in a day. And nobody would answer. Everyone would hang up on you. Average day might be between 600 and 700, but like we were pounding the phones, and it was hard. But I'll tell you what, anybody that has an experience in that kind of a sales, whether it's pounding the phones or door knocking, those are transformative sales experiences, don't they?
Absolutely. They build a lot of character.
They build so much character.
When people are constantly hanging up on you or telling you where to go.
Yeah. Telling you where to go. We know where they're telling you where to go.
Exactly. I don't want to say that in a recording, but when people are telling you that or you're hearing that several times per day, you get to develop a pretty thick skin.
Yeah. How do you overcome all of the no's and like the phone slams in your face and people telling you where to go? How did you like handle that and deal with that psychologically?
you just have to let it roll off your back, kind of laugh about it.
Yeah.
I remember towards the end of the time when I was making cold calls, I called a particular number. A woman picked up. I started talking, and she said, "Oh, I'm not interested." And I said, "Oh, in what?"
That's a good one.
Because she didn't even give me the opportunity to talk about why I was calling or to learn about why I was calling. And it was interesting because it really took her back. And then we started having a conversation. You know, she didn't end up coming on board as a client, but at least it got my foot in the door.
Yeah.
So you've got to have fun with it. You've got to know that that very next dial could be your next client.
Yeah.
And keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the analogy of, you think of a seed that's planted in the soil, and it doesn't know how close it is to reaching the surface.
That's right.
Until it hit there. Another great analogy is like entrepreneurship and business. It's like, this is from Alex Hormozy. He says, it's like you have an axe and you're just chipping away at a big brick wall. Mm-hmm. And the problem is you don't know how thick the wall is.
That's right.
You have no idea. You could be an inch left or it could be a mile left, but you know that if you keep chipping away, at some point you're going to reach the other side.
That's right.
And
it's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game, yeah. And there's a lot to it. But another really interesting thing is I used to do, one of my first sales jobs is I worked at the mall selling cell phones.
Oh, okay.
That was my first sales job ever. That's kind of where I kind of fell in love with sales because of the competitive spirit, like the whole environment. And that was a character building exercise. So standing in that kiosk, "Excuse me, miss, can I ask you a quick question?" "Hey, sir, what phone is that?" And it's like we would get people that had no interest in buying a phone today. Mm-hmm. We would capture their attention. I learned about having to break their attention from whatever they're working on, their focus. You have to just kind of get them focused on you for something and get them out. Like you said, "I'm not interested." Of course you're not interested. It's like, interested in what? And all of a sudden you have a conversation and then things are flowing. And then if you're smooth with it, you can transition into, who you are, what you do.
That's right.
And, but yeah, those experiences are really, really valuable.
Yeah. So you were the person in the mall, in the kiosk that people were trying to avoid.
Yes.
and they didn't want to look at you.
Yes. Yes.
So that you wouldn't start talking
yes,
to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so we had to figure out creative ways to get them to look at us.
That's right.
Sir, I think you dropped, hey, real quick before you go. Yeah. But that's great. So these days you've transitioned. So you've built a successful business in the financial industry and you have all the experience, almost 29 years of experience, and you have the skills. Your next step is to go back and help people that were on their same path, but now you're a few steps ahead of them.
Yes.
So what made you get into that?
Like I said, it's just heartbreaking to see women in particular come into the industry and not make it. Statistically, only about 10% of all financial advisors are women. And it's a different game for women than it is for men. It's not uncommon to be the only woman sitting at the boardroom table, or one of very few. And most of the time, and I don't mean to be controversial here, but it's a fact that women generally take on more of the caretaker role when it comes to the children, running them to soccer practice, basketball, gymnastics, whatever the case may be. When we have those extra duties that we need to take care of, we have less time and attention that can be used to focus on building the business. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also from an optics perspective, there's not as much of a community out there for women as there is for men. So, for example, if you wanted to step out for lunch or have a drink with a male colleague after work, just to talk about business or whatever the case may be, completely innocent, people see you and then all of a sudden rumors start that you're having an affair.
Yeah.
And nothing could be further from the truth. But that's what happens to women. Mm-hmm. And I want women to know that there is a way that we can build our businesses, not have to choose between career and family, and be just as successful as everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things that you're doing that's helping to unlock this is you're telling other women and you're showing them more than you're telling them that it's possible because you've done it.
Yeah, I want to be that beacon of hope,
Yeah.
knowing that all of the blood, sweat, and tears that they're putting into it, there is success at the end of that effort. And I want to be the person that shows them exactly step by step how they can do it.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like when the story of the 4-minute mile, right?
Yes.
And as soon as somebody hit the 4-minute mile, it took them hundreds of years to crack the 4-minute mile. But as soon as they did the next year, like 16 other people ran the 4-minute mile. And when you know that something's possible, you start to think about how I can make this happen for myself. But if you've never seen it done, it's not possible in a lot of people's minds. And so they stop thinking about how it's possible. Mm-hmm. And all your solution finding exercises just stop. And when you tell yourself that you can't do something, then you're no longer looking for a solution. But when you ask yourself, how can I do something? Then the solutions, your brain starts in problem solving mode. So being an example for somebody is really a huge impact that you can have on somebody's life. And tell me more about some of the impact that you've been having on some of your students. Like, what have you been doing for them?
I have kept in touch with students that I had originally when I started this business back in 2020. They are still using social media to build their businesses. And I had one woman tell me in particular that if she doesn't post regularly, she sees a big dip in her income. And so I know the strategies that I have passed on to her really do work and really do allow her to grow her income, mm-hmm. which helps with her own financial stability, but then also allows her to help more people.
Mm-hmm. How much of being a successful financial planner in the industry has to do with like being great at financial planning, and how much of it has to do with marketing?
Wow, that's a really good question. With any industry, you're going to have individuals that really excel at their craft, and you're going to have individuals that don't do as well. And I've met people from every end of the spectrum. So a lot of it really does come down to marketing. It comes down to the marketing. It comes down how you talk to people. It comes down to your personal brand. I was fortunate in the latter part of my career that I worked on a couple of different teams. So together we, could market the team and gain business. So I wasn't trying to do it solo mm-hmm. anymore, but marketing really is a massive impact as to whether or not you're going to be successful.
Yeah, I see it, and I think that's true in just about every single industry.
Absolutely.
So a few examples are, I have a pressure washing company, an exterior mm-hmm. cleaning company, and I promise you I'm not the best exterior cleaner, the best pressure washer. I've also owned a carpet cleaning company, and whether you own a gym, or you want to be a personal trainer, all you need is a baseline and mm-hmm. be able to perform good work. Above that, it doesn't really impact your income very much, but you need to have the basic skills. But you also need to know what business you're actually in, mm-hmm. because once you have those basic skills, it kind of becomes a little bit commoditized. Mm-hmm. And so how are you going to stand out? And that's typically done through marketing.
That's right.
And that part, I think most people forget. They invest all of their time and energy and money into becoming the best at their, like in the gym world. have the best workouts. Mm-hmm. I'm a personal trainer, so I'm going to have the best workouts. I'm going to have the best diets. I'm going to have the best equipment. But it's really not about that.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think financial industry and really almost industry is pretty much the same thing. Would you agree?
100%. Mm-hmm. In the financial industry, you need to determine what makes you different than the person down the hall. You're offering exactly the same services, and you could have the best service or product in the world, but if you can't differentiate yourself from that next person, you're not going to attract the people that you want to work with. And you could be a better investment advisor or financial planner, but if the individual down the hall is out there, has better branding, better marketing, better sales skills, they're going to get the business and you're not.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if they're a better planner or investment advisor.
Right. 100%. And that's where it's important, being able to put yourself out there. And what are some of the marketing tips, just a couple of pointers that you tell some of your clients about? What are some of the things that you see, the biggest opportunities when you work with some of your clients, some of the things that you help them with?
One of the big things, and I think this is a female thing, we're afraid to put ourselves out there. A lot of the women that I work with, they've had their Facebook accounts, posting, family gatherings, that sort of thing, but they've not taken the step to really use social media from a business perspective and really get their name and their face out there and kind of break out of that obscurity. And it can be daunting. One of the big things, as you know, is doing video. And I need to, and I do regularly, counsel women, you know what? It's okay. If you mess up, it's okay. You're human, and people want to deal with a human. They don't want to work with somebody that's 100% perfect.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is about confidence in just putting yourself out there, getting your face out there.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest hurdles to overcome when you're working in social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you find that you typically have to guide them on the actual skill of financial planning as much, or do you typically give more guidance on how to get customers and grow a business?
It's a lot of it is geared towards how to grow the business. Having said that, because I've had so much time in the industry, I know all about insurance. I know all about investments and planning. And so I'm very good at being able to help them position their services to make that attractive to their audience. There are a number of different companies out there. I see it, on Facebook all the time. They're speaking to insurance agents or investment advisors. Oh, we can get you leads. We can get you appointments. And that's all well and good, but these people don't have the industry background. And in my opinion, in order to be, very, very effective, you need to have both. And so that's 100%. What I bring to the table.
That is so rare. And that's why it's so important to work with somebody like you that has the background and then has mastered the marketing. There are so many of these different marketing companies, and a lot of times the work gets outsourced overseas, and that person doesn't have any industry experience in the field that they're trying to market in. And the differences can be so subtle, but the impact can be huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, this morning before I made my way into the studio, I was messaging with a student, and they provide final expense insurance and mortgage protection. The clients or the individuals that they're targeting, completely different ends of the spectrum. And someone to guide them appropriately needs to have that knowledge to know what the difference is between those two types of coverage. Someone that's never had any experience in the industry isn't going to be able to guide them appropriately on messaging and getting that out there.
Yeah, 100%. I help people with marketing also, and I have a business in the home services industry. So because I've spent, years calling all my own leads, launching my own campaigns, seeing what comes through from lead all the way to job to the follow-up after the job. I have a very unique experience in how to make ads work for a particular business, and and the language that we use and the things that actually convert. And for the financial industry, it's the exact same thing. So when somebody has a choice to make, they can either go with somebody that has a marketer who has great at ads or great at building a website, but has zero experience. Even if they work with a lot of financial advisors, that doesn't mean that they have the context in order to make those subtle differences that can really make all the difference in the return on investment. But that's just the marketing side. On top of that, you help people beyond the marketing and the business growth. Like we know growing your business is more than just running ads.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So anything else that you can think of, some of the ways that you can help people grow their business that you talk to them about?
One of the things that's really important to me when I work with clients is to actually roll up my sleeves and get in there and help them make it happen. I have spent, oh my goodness, probably about $150,000 in total in mentorships over the past 5 or 6 years. And typically what I have seen is that you enroll in a program, they'll give you a bunch of videos to watch. Maybe you'll have, a group Zoom session once a week with 100 other people. So it's really tough to get your questions in at that point. But it's really up to you to take that information and apply it to your own business or your own personal circumstances. I know how difficult that is. And I know that oftentimes you're not going to get the results that you're looking for if that's the kind of program that you're participating in. So with the mentorship that I provide, I'm actually doing an intensive quality check on my clients' work.
Yeah.
So I get to know them on a more personal level. I get to know, all right, what is it that you are wanting to achieve with your business? What are your specific areas of focus, your expertise? I help them craft their message. And then I'm able to say, okay, well, based on, what you want to do here, X, you should be doing X, Y, Z. So that they know exactly the strategy to use and how to make it specific to them.
Right. Yeah, that's so powerful. And like you said, a lot of these programs, they're just some videos and it's like, here, go off and do it yourself.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, have fun. But sometimes, if a lot of times we know what to do already, but we need assistance getting there. And that's pretty much exactly what you offer.
Yeah. And when I see that someone is not progressing, and I've done this a number of times, life gets busy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, business growth or business improvement is put to the side. I'll reach out and I'll say, hey, how's everything going over there? Haven't heard from you in a while. Is there everything okay? Do you need help? And that keeps everyone moving forward. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backward.
Yeah.
So my job as a mentor is to keep people moving in the right direction.
Yeah. How important is mentorship to you? You've spent a significant amount of money on mentorship. What impact has that had on your career and on your life?
If I didn't have the mentorship that I've had, I wouldn't be where I am today. Plain and simple. I have a mentor. Well, that's how you and I met.
Right.
And so I find it doesn't matter what level of your career that you're at, or even generally, if you want to make a change or you want to grow any sort of area of your life, you need to have someone that's kind of taking you by the hand and showing you the way.
Yeah, 100%. And what I always like to think about is all of the greatest people in the history, like the best athletes, the best actors, the best, everything, they all have coaches. The top of the top of the top, they all have coaches. Yeah. Yeah, your average person that hasn't achieved what they want to in life, they look at the world and say, I don't need a coach. I got this. Yeah. I figured this out.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling. I hear it. Well, I really want to grow my business, but I don't have the money right now to invest in a mentor. And it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. Well, how are you going to grow your business? If you knew how to do it, you would have done it already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little bit backwards.
Yeah. I like to tell people that like you can't afford not to,
Yeah.
because it's like once you start working with a particular person that can unlock a small little puzzle piece. I'll tell you a quick story, and I think this will really bring things home. So recently, I do marketing for people, so I get on calls all day long, and I recently changed one small thing in my sales pitch. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, my close ratio went from like 20% to like 80%, mm-hmm. with one small change.
That's right.
And I'm just like, dang, if I had made this change like a year ago, where would I be today?
Exactly. Like, I had the same thing happen to me.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah.
And it's just like I had everything. I had a great service. I had a lot of people that were contacting me consistently, everything that I needed to have, but then I was just missing one small puzzle piece. And then someone came and gave that piece to me. And then I put it in, implemented it, and then everything changed. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just the one small thing that can lead to the biggest result. And it's hard for people to wrap their mind around because we get used to thinking linearly. Well, I put 1 hour in, I get paid $20 an hour. Mm-hmm. I work 4 hours, I get paid $80. Mm-hmm. But when you're an entrepreneur, you are building things out of your creativity. So 1 unit of creativity could be equal to an infinite amount of wealth.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible. And so sometimes we aren't achieving what we want to in life because we don't have the little piece that's going to unlock what we want.
And how are you going to get that piece if you don't have someone helping you and guiding you and mentoring you?
If somebody's already done it, they know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Go seek out that person. Who has done what I want to accomplish at a high level? Mm-hmm. I'm going to go find that person, and I'm going to talk to them and ask them what it is that they're doing. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is sometimes we're not ready for the information. So the same little piece that I implemented in my journey, I had heard it 10 times before, but it just never clicked until one day I tried. I'm like, oh, that's what you meant. And so we have to also be ready to receive the information and believe, that things can change, mm-hmm. At a different rate than linear. So that's been a super interesting experience for me. So having somebody to help unlock those things for you is super important. Working with someone like you that can take them from whatever roadblock they currently have to where they want to be. So definitely, if anyone's interested in growing their financial planning services, you got to hit up Leanne. But yeah, I want to ask you just a couple more questions about what's next for you. Where do you want to go with your business these days? What's your purpose right now?
My overall purpose, I want women to know that they can do it too. They can have the career, the business that they want, and they don't have to give up their family time. They don't have to choose. It is possible to have both. And I want to be that person to show them how to do that. Beautiful.
Beautiful. So Leanne, just about out of time, but how can people get a hold of you?
You can go to my website. So it's luxfinance.co. So
we're going to put a link in the description of the...
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Link in the description.
Okay, link in the description. luxfinance.co. You can take a look at the website. There is also a free webinar on the website showing you some different tips and tricks and some secrets into how to build your own 6-figure income in the industry. So really encourage you to go there, check it out, and I'd love to hear any feedback.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, Leanne, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an amazing episode. Anything else last you wanted to tell anybody? Do we miss anything out? Do we leave anything out? Anything else you want to touch on?
Make the commitment that you're going to do it. Get the help and support and the guidance, and you'll succeed.
Love that. Thank you guys so much. This has been another amazing episode of the A-Lister Show. Amazing guest, Leanne Teston. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.